Happy harvest moon. Got some sage. As you come in, drop that ashe so we know you in. On the watch off the shirt. Ashe. Let that delight the space. I might delight my Palo Santo a little later. The mindset of our self. I want that to be a little bit lower. A little more intimate with us. Did my shit just freeze? It did not just do that, did it? Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm like, did I freeze you? I know my voice would go through, but like last week. As we're taking this thought process into our higher self, separating away from things that no longer serve us a purpose, one of the biggest keys for us is to understand the things that don't serve us purpose. That's the given, that you can do that emotionally all the time. Every day of the week, people will go, every other month, you got motherfuckers on your social media literally saying, I just cut 15 people off. I just cut 16 people off. I just cut all these people off in my groups. I'm cutting people off left and right because they aren't there for me. They aren't whatever this, and this. And then they're just cutting people off in an indirect manner based on emotion. It's easy to make a cut or cut somebody off based on an indirect emotion. Like, I can't fuck with this person because of something. But what is that something based upon? What is the thought process of who and what's their purpose? We have to really start understanding what's their purpose. We have to start understanding literally what is their purpose. And that's what we're going to get into tonight with crisis actors. There's many motherfuckers in your life right now that we spend so much time being duped by a distraction, being put into this mindset based on a distraction, based on where something's at, based on how something's happening for us, or that's not serving us a purpose anymore, whatever it may be. But we're not taking into consideration that it's there for a purpose. I had a thought earlier today. That full moon energy been mad crazy for me. I woke up tired, mainly because I don't be sleep anymore. But I was sitting there thinking about family members, and I painted a scenario in my head. I was just playing around in my mind. I was like, the sister, the overprotective sister, the overprotective brother, the overprotective family member, the like that aspect of overprotection. And then thinking about the multiple possibilities, the multiple life cycles, not having this in this side, not having this on that side, and being able to look at this spectrum of time and understand that everything's based upon a decision of self. You are the programmer, you are the creator. We are the programmers, we are the creators. So when we set that tone, as opposed to you just go past somebody and you feel like you've seen them before, or your sister is way more than a sister to you. She almost like your mother or your wife. And then I start looking at these aspects and I'm like, wait, the overprotection of this family member, the overprotection of this was because of something that they served at a purpose in a past life cycle for me. Once I understand these aspects, I'm like, okay, cool. It doesn't serve a purpose for me. And I wanted to start with that because I take this thought process of when I'm doing when I'm doing consultations, when I'm doing consultations, when I'm talking with people, when I'm dealing with people that are going into their shadow work, the question always arises into my mind: lack of senses of control or whatever it may be, not having control, not having power, heavy materialism, whatever it may, in those aspects. And I'm like, wait, time out. Are they running away from okay, don't care. The mindset that they're in, are you running away from being broke, or are you running away from the emotional imbalances of being broken? We think about this when we take this aspect and bring ourselves into our truth of ourselves. Everything from the first person that you have to forgive in order for anything to start coming through, for your work to actually start. That first stage, you can read every book that you fucking want to read, but until you have forgiven yourself, nothing else matters. Until you're in tune with yourself, nothing else matters. Nothing else can fall into place and make you is going to take you to another space. You may get a contact, you may get a download, you may get some information, but that information can be tainted based on the trauma that you have not dealt with. That thought process can be tainted because of something that you have not dealt with. This is when we come into the aspect of being acquired that skill. So we got something that the right there today is going to be with us today, because we need that. We need that to happen. If it keeps putting you back into the same place, it means you haven't learned from it. So our thought process, something as similar as today. There's a difference between encoding and decoding. Once you realize something doesn't have power outside of you, unless you give it power, 9 times out of 10, whatever you're tapping into or whatever you're looking at based on a ritual wise is usually you're encoding your energy, you're encoding your essence into it based upon something that you have not released yourself from. I've said before, like, I have not put myself into the mindset. This is the biggest difference. I have not put myself into the mindset of being a black man in America or a black man wherever in about 2 years. I've separated myself from that definition of my identity. Because if I'm not able to separate myself from that definition in my identity, then that can be something that can be used against me. Because I have to be able to separate away from it myself. I need that separation for my clarity, to see exactly what I am without it. It's something similar like, would your life be easier if you were white? Or would your life be easier if you were Asian? Or would your life be easier if you were this, that, the third, or the above? It's not the image, it's the corresponding algorithms to that formula when you're in that space. So even if tomorrow, even if I woke up and I was Asian, the things that are already programmed to my past for me to go through, I'm going to simply go through as an Asian in that environment based on that program. So it's not when you choosing sides based on your hurt, when you're choosing to stick around family and friends and associates and these aspects that no longer work for you, and you're starting to make that separation is duly fucking needed. Because the further you get away from them, you start realizing that they are crisis actors. There's aspects, as you come in and drop that, I'll share. There's aspects like, I'll use this aspect, I use as an example most of the time. I can take the thought process of my mother. Take the whole thought process of my mother. I love my mother, unconditional love for my mother. I got mad love for my mother. But a lot of my issues in Ashe, a lot of the issues that came up based upon with my mother being in the picture, with me dealing with my mother in that aspect, were trying to make her life comfortable in the space that she was in. Now, this was based solely upon emotion of a trauma, of traumas that came up in my life that led to that point. One of the main things that came into my thought process, and I really thought about it, and it was just crazy, the aspect study in my own mind. I was sitting there thinking to myself, the entirety of meeting my mother and my father meeting. And I heard none of the stories from my mother. I heard all of the stories from my father. But I remember every story that my mother told me when she was in New York for like 8 years. When she was in New York for 8 years, every story that she told every story. But when it came to a certain part of the story about she met somebody, it was always under the tone of there was this guy that liked her, but his girlfriend didn't, or whatever it may be. So she created that story. When I heard every aspect from my father, the reason that I knew my mother was taking parts out of the story was when I was around my father, it wasn't on a sense of needing, even at that time, it wasn't at a sense for me to sit there and be like, I need to believe everything my father says because it makes sense because I'm angry at my mother. At that point, that's how my mind was reacting. I was looking for something within that story to further separate myself away from something. But that's based upon the emotional. It wasn't until later on when I was having the conversations with my father in those ends, having those conversations, having those dialogues with my father, that a lot of shit came to the surface that made sense. My father told me about he had an ex that was crazy in that aspect. So it checked out from my mother's side of the story. I say that to say this. No matter the path that you are on, you have one of two choices. Either you're going to eat the bologna and cheese sandwich, or you're going to go to Applebee's for all I fucking. You don't go to fucking Applebee's. Whichever decision that you make is going to shift the algorithms into that part of the program. As opposed to, but it's always going to lead back to what the fuck you supposed to be doing. Regardless, it's going to lead back to what the fuck you supposed to be doing. And I'm going to put it into this. The two aspects of how you were created. Understanding that you chose the path of your creation, you coming down here at this point in time, like you sitting here on a Friday night at 8 p.m., you listening to a lecture. Ashe. You chose everything that came into that fruition based upon the algorithm and that formula of something that you needed from that space. Outside of this space of you thinking that, oh my God, that's why. And I really thought about this shit. To reinforce it. I was like, I met my mom, my pops got together. My pops has a mind. My pops had the mindset for business, but it was like he never expounded upon it because he got trapped inside of a quadrant. It wasn't that he could not speak any further. It's just that wasn't his purpose and point. And this takes a hell of a lot of fucking healing. He was stuck in that point. He could not say certain. He only could tell me stories at a certain point based on a certain point that he got to, because that was his purpose. He can't go anywhere past that. But he could also make it very emotional and stunt emotional growth. That was his purpose. My mother, aspects of her coming into my life. things that she shut down and things that she went through. All of these aspects came into me as the doubts, the wishes, the wonders, the worries, all the stuff that came into me. When I met my father, everything made sense. I had a taste literally I had a taste for the underworld. I had that taste for the underworld. I had a taste for it. Like it was always a taste that was at the tip of my tongue. It was always something under my nose, a taste for the underworld, that aspect of my life. It was always there. But it wasn't until I came into the actual understanding of why it was there. Because around my father's aspects in the world, it was heavy on family, but it was the tribal aspect. My pops is from the island. So it was the tribal aspect when it came to family, as opposed to the definition of family that I was given. That's what I saw. Two parents in the house, yard getting cut, Sunday dinner, all of those aspects. So I was given something that was based upon my identity, something that I could fight for, something that if I didn't have, I'd be in a constant state of trauma on trying to get back to or trying to make it in my own. I have that information in the fucking pot because now that I'm separated from a certain aspect of my sister, my brother, my sisters, my brothers, family members, now that I'm separated away from it, I can see them on the other side of that parallel, having that fight with themselves, trying to achieve this dream of identity, going through the emotional aspects of the emotional identity. Literally, the crisis acting based on the crisis, they are acting based on the crisis. They became crisis actors. Because when you see it, it becomes the narrative that you see on television. Where do you think they would get the narrative to put 16 and pregnant and all of these shows on? That's the aspect of how they're viewing it. When you go further out and then you think about motherfuckers that are in Africa, Morocco, all these other countries, and they're looking at how they portray you on television, that's the same thing of reinforcing that program. So everybody's reinforcing the program. Everybody's in a state of crisis, trying to maintain this space, trying to maintain something that doesn't serve a purpose anymore to you. So I ask a question. Are you running from the fear of being broke? Are you running from being broke? Or are you running from the emotional traumas of being broken? Is the only reason that you're doing the things that you're doing based on this definition that's been given to you, but you've never given any thought? You believe that if you do this, okay, that's where your forgiveness comes from. Forgiving yourself. When people think about this aspect of forgiveness, they think about on this light term of we think about it on this light treaded term of I'm going to forgive my mother or forgive this person, and then it gets trampled into how can I forgive somebody if they ain't gonna forgive themselves? For me, my level where I'm at, I'll be like, nigga, it's a reflection of you, so you forgiving yourself anyway. But you gotta ease motherfuckers into their shit. It's harder for me to see excuses. It's harder for me, the further I go, the harder it is for me to see excuses. The harder it is for me to expect, and the easier it is for me to accept. I have a humongous amount of love, unconditional love, mad love for everybody and everything in this realm. I have love for it. It's ultimate love. It's ultimate love from me on that aspect. But I'm humble to understand that if it does not serve a purpose for me, then there's no more fighting back and forth with it. That fight I'm going back and forth, dancing between, I should go over here because I know how to do it. I know how to deal with it. I know how to maneuver, as opposed to if I'm going to spend all my, now it goes to the aspect of how much energy am I really going to spend maneuvering into this space or maneuvering around this environment when I could be doing something else over here. This doesn't support what I'm trying to do. This isn't something that I need in my life. It served its purpose. This goes into the aspect of the crisis actor. If someone can take simply in their mind that my mother is going to do the same thing she's been doing for the last 35 years. My mother's been doing the same thing for the last 35 years. I've implemented shit into her life that I thought I should be doing based upon my identity. Just to get the gun, just to get the good son badge, just to get the good boyfriend badge, just to get the good nephew badge, just to get the good brother badge, the good sister badge, just to get these badges. But at the end of the day, when I'm really looking at it, is I sabotaged so much of my life, but it was for a purpose. Because I noticed that every time that I was self-sabotaging my life in this aspect, listening to the crisis actors, even though they keep showing up everywhere, take Sandy Hooks or the crisis actors, and you see them in this town, in this town, in this city, all in the same situation of fucking destruction, trauma, whatever it may be. That's what your family becomes. At a certain point in time, if they have not reached to a certain level of step to a certain plateau, they have not stepped to that, because everybody can get this work. But it only takes only a certain few people are going to step up, and even fewer are going to make it. Even fewer are going to step through and make it through this shit. Make it through the aspect of getting to that level. Getting to where it's ultimately fucking lit all the time. It's only when you truly get there that you're actually able to start actually applying any fucking work. It sounds cool, motherfuckers. Motherfuckers can go up and down right now, the block right now, and guarantee can recite all of the fucking hermetic laws, give you a full description of what an Ankh is, give you a full description of what this deity is and what this principle is, give you full facts based on intellectual concept. Okay, cool. They got a foundation. They got a whole foundation. They got a whole fucking floor. They ready for that aspect. But when it comes to actually applying that shit, how are they applying it in real time in their life? My path work was to do the podcast. Taking these words and the definitions outside of the box and put them into a more format for us to be able to synthesize and use into our life. I just did this week, we did the law of correspondence. To understanding that everything is a reflection of your life. It just doesn't happen. It's based on something that is coming through. So what portal have you allowed yourself into to lock yourself into? It's the trauma. The trauma is going to create that critical mass thought form that's going to create the crisis actor. So you take all of these crisis actors that are always distracting you, and they're crying and they holding the phone and Karens and all that shit. All those aspects are aspects of crisis actors. Something to make you feel or cling to your identity even more. The more they show you a Karen picture, the more they show you a Karen meme, and you don't understand the basic mechanics of it, the more they show you a Karen meme or a Karen video, the more you cling to the identity of being black when you're more than that. The more that they dump down and they say, Jesus is this and this and this and this, and then you bang against Jesus and say, fuck Jesus, Jesus isn't real. the more you cling to whatever Moorish temple, whatever social club you decided to put yourself into to say, I don't represent the white Jesus. So now you stuck on, now you got to be this over here to be that over there. So now you need this term of crisis of them trying to push this around the fucking world, and now you sitting in your space, and then you're sitting there trying to fight against them from your fucking living room. I can't believe my people aren't waking up. Sis, you ain't woke up yet. Bruh, you ain't woke up yet. You are aware of something. You are aware of something. You are conscious. You are aware. You're aware of trauma. True. You're aware of oppression. True. You're aware of struggle. True. You're aware of these things, which is true, but you're only on the surface. So you're only creating from the kinetic force or the kinetic pulse of energy. Your root chakra, where you're grounded in. That's where you're at. When you come into the occult mind, the occult setting, as we center that muerte, you understand that the skull aspect means it's equating to skill. So that automatically, this becomes information on your fucking head. This becomes information on your fucking cutting room floor because you have not fully embraced the other aspects that go with it. Mind control, the programming. You've accepted someone else's programming. So this comes up in your mind. You think death. Someone to think death. My aspect of death as the occultist is different than the aspect of death for anybody else. So when I see death, I now see transitional gateways. So when I see somebody transition that looks like this, that has the melanin in their skin, I'm like, nigga, that's a transfer point. I can get some new information. It takes you out of the process of thinking. We have to come out of this thought process of thinking in the humanity, that human tone, not knowing when to say this or not when to say that. You said you love them. You said you love them. But it isn't about how much you love something outside of yourself. It's about how much do you love yourself. But take this aspect of death. We'll use this as one of the key examples. I understand death is simply the transition. So I understand that there has to be a conduit in order for something for me to connect to that transition point. Something ultimately has to be destroyed in order for me to get to the next point. If I'm still down here doing my work and I'm seeing the sacrifices as a God, I'm accepting the sacrifices and giving them exactly what the fuck they want. I'm not going to give them what they want based on humanity, based on bad or good. I'm going to give them exactly what they want. Last week, I lit up 3 fucking reversible candles, and my first words that came to my mind when even thinking about it was like, yo, bring all my shit back. All this shit throw it back at them and let me get the power. So if I go on my fucking timeline on fucking Facebook and they talking about Trump got fucking coronavirus, instead of me trying to decode it, which I don't have to, I can spend the whole time decoding it. Or I can be like, damn, I'm right on time. Sending that shit back. If I can look at it from both aspects and understand, okay, cool, it could be a ritual, but what is this ritual trying to do? Distraction, wait, what are they harvesting? Harvest moon just came up. Because my mind is now clear of the aspects that no longer are going to serve me a purpose based on that human thought, that 1% of human thought. So I'm not thinking on trying to sustain anything down here that's not meant for me to fucking pay attention to. We have to start looking at things in this narrative that are going to serve us a better purpose based on what we're ready to invest into. So I could take the example. Of, okay, cool. Every time I know from watching a movie like Pelham 123, any movie that was talking about the stock market, and I know my stuff about the stock, like going through those aspects of studying investing, and I look and I'm like, yo, every time that there's a crisis, the stock market drops or it slows down or something happens, then it kicks back up based on something else. Instead of me worried about some 74-year-old white guy on television, instead of me looking at that, I got books I'm gonna go look at. I can go look at the stock exchange. Let me go see how the stock change. Let me go check out my other formulas that I can go invest into. Because as long as you're paying attention, it's gonna keep happening. Every time you look, somebody's still paying attention to it. Someone putting their 2 cents on it. Someone's gonna encode their information into it. Somebody's gonna make somebody emotional is gonna respond in an emotional sense. And since they're responding in an emotional sense, they're going to respond on an intellectual sense. And when they're responding on that intellectual sense, that intellectual state of their mind, since they're reacting based on that term, they're going to be able to manipulate it based on what they know about the situation or the person. So when you start thinking about shit like this, and then you bring it into yourself. Think about it in your life, how motherfuckers have used your emotions being out of imbalance and have used it in order to make you fuse or react to their crisis or to their trauma, further distracting you from the truth of yourself, that they're there for a fucking purpose. Once their purpose has been served, I can now step away. What am I running away from? Because every time I feel myself, I need to go do this based off, oh, it's family. Oh, that's my friend. Oh, those are my coworkers. Oh, this basic ass definition gives you base ass fucking results. You want base ass results? You keep doing basic ass shit. The basic ass shit to you being a god and a fucking goddess, a titan, you want to be on a higher level. It is not based in fucking humanity. Period. It is not based in humanity. You sitting there in your thought process, yo, this is what I need to be fucking doing because I need to save my people. Who are you fucking really saving? How can I rather sit in one of my spaces that I go into in my mind. I was watching Hannibal Lecter and I was thinking about it. One of the spaces that I go into my mind, I remember back in the day they had that game called Risk. And I look at this board in front of me, and everywhere on this board, there's a mirror. So like my mother represented a mirror, my father represented a mirror, family members, ex-girlfriends, whatever it may be that came into my life in tandem, they all were mirrors. A mirror naturally reflects a projection back to you reflects that light back to you in something that you want to see. So if I want to say, nigga, I need, take this simple aspect. If I say, nigga, I need to shave, the first thing, if I feel my face and I go look in the mirror, like, yeah, it's time for me to shave. Because that's the reflection that I required from that mirror. It's like if I go into any other space, my mother is only going to be able to reflect to me the 12, the 5, the 8, the 12, and the 16, 18, some of my early 20s, she's only going to reflect from that point. Because that's the point that she serves. She's that reflection of light. She only can emotionally manipulate based on that emotional aspect of light. Your reflection can only manipulate the light that you put into it. So the more that I thought about this a while back when I was like, I would have whole conversations with my mother. And then I remember one time my mom was like, I don't like going, my little sister was like, I don't like going with mom anywhere because she spends the entire time talking about anything that I don't like talking to mom because every time that I talk to her and she goes out, she ends up telling her sisters about me. And there's always some half-assed truth. Okay. I feel you. I still remember a time with my mother where I was on one of my vacation. I was on vacation with my vacation. Went to the beach, and it was around tax time. It was around tax time, and my mother. It was around tax time, and I remember one of my close friends, homeboys, my brothers from back at that point in time. He went over there and he called my mom. He called me on the phone. But he had his phone just sitting he had his phone sitting on the table. So he wanted me to hear what my mother was saying. My mother was talking cash shit. Like talking, she was like, he better bring me my money and all these other things to that narrative and all this shit. And it sounded so fucking good for her to keep saying it. She was just saying it. And then I was like, all right, that's enough. Hang up. Send him a text if he hung up. I was like, wow. I waited. Went over to my mom's house. I was like, yeah, I was. But then my lawyer saw that the last other couple of years, like you've been shoving off my sister's Social Security card around to everybody in the family trying to get some money off them. He's like, don't do that. I was like, all right, cool, bet. Won't do it. Love my Jewish lawyer. But when I approached her about the situation of what she said and repeated it verbatim to her, she had nothing to say. The key to me in that space was I didn't respond emotionally. I brought my mom the paperwork from my lawyer. I brought the receipts I brought all my receipts that I needed to have this conversation with my mother. It made her become emotional. I wasn't approaching with emotion. This was one of those moments when I could go back into that space when I'm doing the meditation and I remove that mirror. Because that image of my mother was becoming distorted. The image of my mother, based upon the emotional aspect of I love my mother and now I'm challenging my love of my mother, because my love was simply becoming toleration. Most of the shit that you go through in your life is going to be based on tolerate. You're tolerating it. Like now at this moment, right now at this point in time, I'm plant-based. I'm plant-based. So my mother cannot hit me with an emotional algorithm of I made your favorite food. I've learned how to make my favorite food plant-based. So that's no longer a way to attach to me. Have you seen your sisters or your brothers or whatever it may be? No, really haven't. I've been busy doing my works, doing my stuff, doing what I need to be doing. That's no way attached to me. It still can become an attachment because my mother she'll go to the next line, be like, yeah, your sisters and your sister was arguing with this. I was like, yeah, I've told her about that more than once. And what I'm doing is I'm shutting off the tethers that are connecting me to that space of feeding that energy. You have to be able to remove yourself, disconnect yourself. And this takes the aspect of true forgiveness to yourself. This is that aspect of true forgiveness to yourself. If you ain't forgiving yourself, you can't. If you haven't forgiven yourself for the shit, you can't do nothing else but sit there and gather your information and sound like you saying some shit, but you're speaking from because you're speaking from a hurt space, you need any conduit that's within your space that's speaking based on your trauma. So you can be aware that's your struggle. You can be aware of your oppression. You can be aware of your trauma. based upon your identity. You can be aware of it all, but the enlightenment doesn't come until you have forgiven yourself to tap into the understanding of those aspects, or else you're going to be searching for the crisis over and over and over again. You're going to be paying attention to the distraction over and over and over again. You're going to be stuck being in the space that you're in over and over and over and again. That's why a natal chart can be so fucking enlightening. I remember the first time I read my natal chart. This was like 4 years ago. And everything in my natal chart was spot on. It wasn't based on the exacts of something. It was based on like, damn, nigga, like that shit makes fucking sense. But I was looking at it based on an intellectual concept. So just me taking in the information, I didn't know how to use it. I wasn't at a point where I was able to use it. So I had to go back to it again. I'm like over the last 2 weeks, the number of natal charts that I've been doing, every time I look at something in somebody's natal chart as I'm analyzing and writing up, doing the write-up, every time I look at it, it made me want to go back to mine. Because I look for those markers based on their sign. I'm like, wait, that sign is my rising sign, or that sign's in my house here, or this. How does this connect to me? That's you doing your due diligent research in your studies. Taking my mindset out of this space to truly do work, not doing it based on, I want to say that I've done it, because I can care less about, I care less and less and less the more that I realize that I don't know. I care less and less and less. I'm not caring, like my aspect of the material shit doesn't fucking even consume me. I'm not consumed by the material need. I'm not consumed by a physical need. The urges are shut off. I learned how to maneuver this fucking energy in its entirety, not in bits and pieces and pulses. I'm not chasing anything. I'm in alignment with everything that I need to be in alignment with. This comes into the aspect of you truly being into, this is true healing. This is true aspects of enlightenment. That you can sit there in a position, and when something terrible happens, you literally can sit there and continuously do what the fuck you were doing anyway. Because you realize that it has nothing to do with you. If it resonates with you, that means it has something, it's not the surface, it's something deeper within. That's why it keeps repeating itself. We think about this spiral effect. Think about that spiral effect. You keep coming back up to things, the things keep happening in your life over and over and over again. You keep going into bad relationships, you keep losing your job, you keep doing all this shit. The president ain't doing nothing. They ain't never gonna do nothing for you. All of these aspects, coming to the truth, forgiving yourself for the dumb shit that you went through. And it made me really think about one aspect of myself. I was like, yo, I remember slowing down for everybody else. I remember prolonging my actual growth. I remember prolonging my growth. I remember prolonging my growth at all times. I remember I get to a certain point in time and I be doing my shit. I be doing my thing. I be in my space doing my thing. But then I started realizing that every time that I slowed down, it didn't hurt that I slowed down, because I was able to pick right back up where I left off at. But then I started noticing it was becoming harder and harder to exist in that space if I learned from it. It was becoming easier and easier for me to adapt to that space based on my identity, so I could stay in that space forever. I could be like, yeah. And then I think about when I think about this, I think about the 40-year-old or the 50-year-old rock star. I think about the 50 and the 40-year-old rock star. I think about that. I think about the mother. I think about the mother that still wears her hair a certain way from like her first good experience. I think about the father, the guy that does the same fucking thing. I think about these niggas in their 30s and 40s wearing fucking skinny jeans and and still rocking Jordans and all these aspects based upon identity. Because you just get to a certain level where you realize that that shit no longer serves you a purpose. And these become the examples these become the examples that you kind of kick to the side because you become into your awareness. Now you're pious. Because now you're doing the same thing that the religious folk or the motherfuckers that are binded to a fundamental, you looking at them, judging them binded to a fundamental. And the only argument that you have to them is that you're the bindings to your own fundamental. So you look at these individuals and you're like, ugh. And you're like, I can't believe, why would you do that? That's not our identity. Then you think about a conversation with a mother like, Queen, you shouldn't wear your hair that way. You should wear your natural hair. You shouldn't accept these European standards of beauty and all this shit. I'm like, you're speaking in a contradiction anyway. You're in a state of crisis that's one you ain't even dealt with, because if we're the original, we created everything in fucking tombs and just in fucking Egypt by itself. They got fucking wigs, picks, and everything else. The creation of wigs, makeup, and all of these aspects. So why can't she do that if that's something that we duly noted that we created? It's something that they didn't need because it's something that they can't fucking use. They're using it based on how they need to use it, and they've set a new standard, a new tone. And knowing that you are stuck within the space of you're going to try to fight against it, that's why they can keep throwing you that fucking tone. Because you fighting against some shit that really don't fucking matter. I don't care. At a certain point, you really don't give a fuck. You have an understanding, and the deeper your understanding is based upon the level of your compassion. So you can understand a situation. You can move with no emotion out of balance in the situation. And then now you have time to use your energy to do what the fuck you really wanted to do. It's cool that, okay, cool. I know the oppositions in my natal chart, and I know the conjunctions in my natal chart. Okay, cool. Well, at a certain point in time, in order to break that cipher, you got to make your oppositions have to become your conjunctions, and your conjunctions got to become your oppositions. Whoo, shit. All your nexus points and all these points that you want to make on the intellectual level of why you are where the fuck you are at and what the fuck you say you think you need to do based on keep maintaining the external status quo of your identity really ain't doing shit. You just sitting there in a space, in a box. You just sitting there in your box looking at which corner you want to go into today. And what you're really getting upset with is somebody shitting in your box in the corner that you wanted to go sit in. They shit in that side of the box corner. They shit in that corner. They shit in this corner. They shit in that corner. Now I'm stuck in the middle of my fucking box. That's what motherfuckers stuck in their identity. When you stuck in your identity, this is what you're doing to yourself. When you're stuck in your identity, this is what you're doing to yourself. This is how you're setting yourself up. This is how you're chasing you're chasing simple reflections and making those your distractions of your confusion. Trying to keep your image up. It's like if somebody sat here and told me And you just ask simple questions to yourself. Once you get bypast all of these aspects of urges, you understand you have energy that you can feed from every fucking point. You can understand, once you have an understanding, a true understanding of something like how the pyramids were used and what they were built to do, or any of these mechanics, and you understand it is based upon the mind, you then can start creating it within your mind. The things that are going to come up as you're doing your creation process, as you're recultivating and reprogramming yourself, the things that are coming up are the things that you got to fucking deal with. This is not, people come into this aspect based on intellectual thought process. So I'll automatically see here and talk to myself in that space because I've done the shit, and I'll think that, okay, cool, I got to do this, this, and this, and then I can get this. And if this doesn't happen, that means this doesn't work. But everybody else has done it and it worked for them. Why isn't it working for me? One part, because it might not be meant for you. Two, you don't know the process that they went through to do it. You just got the fundamentals. You just got the principle. You just got the fundamentals of the aspect. You didn't really get, you really have not ingested the aspect of the humility that you need to actually understand that point. And that's what can kill you. You haven't forgiven yourself. That stasis that people get stuck in, like right now, there are people right now that are so fucking hurt, that you're so fucking hurt. Your life was not the way your life was not based upon your identity. Now you've been chasing away from it for so long that when you come into a space where there's balance, when you come into their space where there's peace, when you come into this space where it's an energy that you cannot explain, you automatically question it based upon your old perception. You project your thoughts into that space. So it has to be this way, or I can't, it has to be this way. I can't see past my own trauma. Most people are stuck within that aspect of trauma. You stuck in it, so you can't see past it. I can't go any further. I can't meditate because I get this happens, or I'm not getting this result when I meditate. I'm hearing everybody else's meditation stories, and I'm in, okay, when you're listening to somebody else's aspect to when they meditate, or when they have their lucid dream, or they have their thought process, or whatever they're going through, what are you listening to? Are you listening to yourself, or are you listening to them? Are you listening to find a point for you to reply, or are you listening to an actual aspect for you actually to step in and to be like, you know what? Let me listen to this conversation. Let me listen to this conversation. Let me observe myself listening to this conversation. How am I reacting to this conversation? They're telling me about burning candles and lighting sage and all this shit, and the only thing I'm thinking about is gonna go do it, but I'm doing it based on a reply. So if I sit here and tell somebody, yo, go burn some sage in your fucking house, and they go to their sage, and they come back to me and say, yo, man, my girl lost her mind. My dude lost her mind. My dude lost his mind when I burned that sage in the house. The first thing I'm going to say, nigga, that means it worked. Sis, it worked. It did exactly what the fuck it was supposed to do. But I love him. And no, you don't. You tolerate them. You're tolerating these people. You're tolerating these reflections until they serve you no purpose. That's why whenever you get mad at something, you have a whole fucking tantrum, because it's not serving your purpose or your need. And it's based upon something that's was already happening within you. You're not getting what you need from that space. But now you're upset because you're in that space. It's not doing what you want because motherfucker is doing what the fuck it needs to do. It's reflecting from a point that you have not reached into. That's why you can look on, that's why they can put you on Instagram and Facebook and whatever social media bullshit, and they show you fucking photo. They have a Photoshop app. They have a Photoshop app. Right now, they have a Photoshop app. Damn, she looked nice, or he looked nice. He got this and he got this. He got external extremities. He had external extremities that really don't mean nothing on the surface. That's like me looking right now, and if I go to my mom's house, if I was in an unhealed state of mind and went to my mother's house, my mother has some nice living room furniture. I bought him a lawnmower. The kitchen looks nice. Bedroom's not, everything's good in their fucking house. So in my mind, automatically, I can look at it and be like, okay, cool, they're doing good. If I wanted to take that point, be like, cool, they're doing good. Because that's the surface bullshit. And the main thing is people cannot look past the fucking surface aspect to see what's truly there in themselves. I made jokes from between my ages of 9 to about 18 that I was a fucking orphan. I was an orphan and I was adopted. I said that shit almost every other given moment, making the joke. I told anybody, any of my friends that came to my fucking house, yo, you're going to think that I'm adopted. You're going to think that I'm adopted. 9 times out of 10, you're going to think that I'm adopted. Go over there to a cookout or whatever functions at my mother's house or whatever, or family members' houses, and later on, they be like, yo, bro, you was right, nigga. Are you adopted? Because you ain't nothing like them. Like, you just not. I was like, I told you I was adopted. Because in reality, you adopted an identity. You adopted a safety. You adopted your handicap on your travel down here. You adopted your handicap. You adopted these aspects in these things that now are becoming the crisis actors in your life. You don't want to do this because it's going to make this person not like you anymore. So now it's a new state of crisis. I don't give a fuck. If they aren't willing to humble themselves to come into this space, then they're not meant to be there. That's the healing process. When people think of this aspect of healing, they think that people think about healing and forgiveness in this aspect of their identity. So when it comes to actually forgiving somebody, we always got to add behind it, but I don't forget. All right, thank you for summoning yourself and locking yourself into a binding spell. You binded yourself to that space. I forgive, but I don't forget. All right, who? Okay, cool. You forgive, but you don't forget. That's nice. So now you forgive them, but it's a half-ass forgiving because you don't forget. So now you don't forget what they did. So even though you forgave them, but you don't forget what they did, they still hold power over you, even though you've given them this thought process of the tolerating. You now are basically tolerating them because you've forgiven them and you haven't forgot. So you're now just tolerating that space until it no longer serves your purpose. And then you want to throw your tantrum. And then you go right back to square one. So you really didn't forgive them because you're not forgiving them for you. You're forgiving them for your fucking self. You're forgiving yourself for what you knew at that point in time. Now you know more. That's the aspect of going into forgiveness. Takes This is an actual study. Forgiveness takes the act of forgiveness. Once you start the forgiving process, it takes roughly between 6 months. It takes roughly between 6 and 8 months for the process to complete itself. Anyway, because that same process is the same process, that same process in forgiveness, that 6 to 8 month process that you go through in forgiveness is the same process in breaking a habit, creating a behavior, stating a new fortifying a new mentality, and then living by that new standpoint. So you can be woke. It's cool. You can be woke. But I think every fucking scholar has said, I remember Baba Gregory was like, yo, just to forget everything that happened back in that space and that point in time, motherfuckers really gotta, black people need like $1 million worth of toys just to forget about that shit. So it's going to take the aspect of time. So you're not going to run into this space. This is that main thing when motherfuckers run into that space. They're talking about they woke and they're conscious and they go get their crystals and they go get stones and they go get all this shit. But then they start applying this same shit into the same space that they came out of. Because you ain't out of the fucking space. You haven't created the discipline, the behavior. You have not broke the old habit, the old behavior, the old habit or / behavior. You have not created the discipline to keep you from going back to this behavior. So you have not succeeded this aspect. So you have not forgiven. You have not claimed true understanding. So you're not in the true level of compassion. You're simply intellectually more. You now have some intellectual information that now you're using to state your case within that space. Why you're at where the fuck you at. And now you feel that you're going to go grab some shit to keep from going back there. Because you going off the same, you just replaced the aspects of how that trauma is used, that thought form is used. You just gave it a new fucking mask. You just sat there and like, okay, cool. Because until I actually came into the forgiveness aspect, my meditations had stopped at a point in time. My disciplines had stopped at a certain point in time. My discipline in me meditating, all my shit came to a fucking halt. I couldn't spiritually get up. I wasn't excited. I was mad all the fucking time. I was angry. I was always in this erratic thought process. I was always trying to process and rationalize everything based upon the trauma, not realizing at that point in time it was a trauma. So every time that I came back into that space, I was using external things to harbor my crisis. I need to go to the gym more. Sure. Or I need to go over here. Because that void gets created. That void was being created in my space. So the void that served the purpose for everything that was my family under that definition, it was now a void. So I was in that moment in time of being alone, like, shit. Maybe if I take some of this, or maybe if I take this cake full of fucking ankhs over to my mother's house or to my sister's house or to a friend's house, or maybe if I take the same approach that a Jehovah's Witness comes up to a fucking door and beats on the fucking door and tell you, do you know when the judgment day is? Maybe if I take that approach, this is realizing that shit in yourself. Maybe if I take this approach, I can bring them with me. I can put them into that box of my unknown. That way I have something that I know that's in there. All you're doing is filling that box with shit that you're gonna have to deal with anyway. Now you just got a new box and you put the old shit back into the new box. And now you're sitting there wondering why, man, my life is not going my life ain't going the way it is. This ain't happening for me. This ain't happening. This ain't working. Motherfuckers is getting shit, but I don't understand why they getting shit. Are you having conversations with them? Are you having a conversation with them? Are you talking to them? Are you dealing with them? What are you truly doing when you're within that space? Are you truly having the conversations that you need to have in order to learn something? Or are you just having conversations because it serves the purpose to know where the fuck you at that point in time? This is an investment. The love and that imbalancing for yourself is a true fucking investment. At this point in time, I refuse for anything that is not from a higher aspect and space of level of me to be in my space of me, period. If it's not showing me, if it's not resonating with me, it's not resonating with me. If it's not making me excited as a kid on fucking Christmas, I'm not dealing with it anymore. I've gotten past the point. I got six messages in my messenger Thursday. I got 7 friend requests Thursday. And all of them, 2 of them came through. And the other 5, I was like, why would you? It was like, you know, when you're in your messenger and the motherfucker sends you a message or on your DM and it says it's a request and da 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 da. So like I read it, but like, well, nah, not doing it. I had somebody in my messenger the other day, one of them Hebrew Israelite Power Ranger people. They argue with themselves for like 25 minutes in my fucking messenger. They argue with themselves for 25 minutes in my messenger. Just argued. They were like, oh, you scared to come get this? At first, it was a humble aspect. And then they got very agitated. They were wanting to argue and shit. I was like, okay. And then I'm just watching it. I'm watching them have this entire conversation with themselves. They threw scriptures in there and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I don't even know which one of my videos that they watched. But I think it was in one of the videos. It had to be one of the videos, of course, that I said something about Hebrew Power Rangers. But I didn't say everybody knows I don't say shit in the terms I don't give a fuck. It's like it's a social club based upon your identity. I don't need to be a part of something when I'm the essence of everything. I'm learning the essences of all my shit. Whole argument displaced. I was like, oh wow, he was angry. I thought it was a he, it was actually a she. I was like, oh, she angry. I was like, oh my bad, sorry. Like, went on about my fucking day. I'm making this point to you're coming to this space where there is no like the way your the karmic accounts are being set up and coming to the table is like Sally Mae banging on your fucking door talking about you owe her your school, your student loans. That's how your energy is going to be feeling right now if you are truly been skipping off your initiation process, allowing yourself to come into your full self. It's going to be like Sally Mae coming at your fucking door every fucking month or in your emails and text me. I don't even know how Sally Mae work. I pay for my college in class. I pay for all my college shit in cash because I was 1 second. I was in the space. I paid all my salary made shit. I didn't have to deal with school loans and shit because I paid my shit in cash based on the works of my father's side of the family. But now you're coming into this space of your reality where your karmic debt is being called in. This is big boy shit. This is big. This the big level shit. If you have not done the work on the lower realms of yourself, these lower points of yourself, you're not going to be able to even tap into the higher aspects and energies of yourself. So you may get that download, that channel information, but it's going to be based on your level of consciousness. It's always going to be based upon your level of consciousness, your level of health, the level of healing that you've done for yourself in order to even get information. That is the key. That's that key factor. So if you keep getting your information, you keep getting information from yourself, you talking to yourself, tuning your universal mind into that aspect. If you keep getting all this good information, you keep getting all this good power to yourself, and you keep using it in lower vibrational ways, then what do you think happens after a while after you keep using it in lower vibrational ways? You're going to have to either, your energy, your cycle is going to start slowing the fuck down. And for a lot of motherfuckers, they shit has started to slow the fuck down dramatically. In physical aspects, you're looking outside of you. Motherfuckers' money is slowed down. Motherfuckers' pussy and getting dick and all this shit has went down because you're no longer in that space. You keep trying to pull this energy down to that space, and there's way too many of us in that space that have created the new brick, created that new gate, that new gateway. So when you're looking at motherfuckers when you're looking at the sacrifices now, it's based upon that same old program. But if you're celebrating it, you create the blockage. You've always been higher. You've always been higher than what the fuck you thought you were. I take this thought process because I thought about it with you think about niggas in church and churches and being poor and wealth and shit is wrong and all these aspects. You were given a narrative of a falsified sense of humility. You were given a narrative of falsified forgiveness. You were given an aspect of forgiveness that was basically based on this cockamamie bullshit that you still trying to live within. You need that there because you haven't forgiven yourself yet. That's why you'll sit there and talk cash shit about something. That's why my mother in one voice can talk cash shit at that point in time. But the reason I went back is because I was still stuck in that mindset that's my mother. I was stuck in that mindset. Oh, that's my mother. Toxic aspects are toxic aspects. I don't care who it is, where they came from, how long I've known them. Once I make that separation, once I learn how to fully sever that tie, because motherfuckers are separating, and it's easy because you can separate skin. That's like if I took whatever. That's like, take the aspect, okay, cool. Here is a leg. Here's the leg. Take your arm. If I cut just deep enough to where I'm touching the bone, I can now separate my arm or the external part of myself, I can detach it. But there's still bone under there. There's still shit under there that I couldn't cut through. In the core of myself that I couldn't cut away from. So I can't get to the marrow of myself or the marrow of my understanding because there's still bone in the way. You still got your humanity in the fucking way. That's why you can't have bomb ass fucking conversations without. That's why some people can't have conversations about acquiring new knowledge without somebody saying, well, yeah, yeah, man, like, we is the, it's just the Moors and the Kemites and da-da-da. And then you just start stroking the identity that you've chosen. It's like taking the aspect of just simply being black is not going to get you to where the fuck you need to go. Simply being fucking black is not going to get you to that next level. That's that same, you take that same thought process and simply being black is going to get me to the next level. Simply being conscious is going to get me to the next level. That's the same fucking bullshit when you hear somebody in the religious aspect saying, all I got to do is forgive all I got to do is ask Jesus for forgiveness and I'm going to go on somewhere. Meanwhile, you on this side saying, fuck white Jesus. Meanwhile, so they're thinking, you think you thinking, they're believing, so they're doing based on belief. You're doing based on your aspect of intellectual knowing. Meanwhile, the knower is sitting up and saying, nigga, I am Jesus. While motherfuckers is battling back and forth talking about Baphomet and Buddha and the Orishas and all these aspects, nigga, I am these things. I am these aspects. So why for me to deny that denies my own power for myself. You can even use the scripture to deny me in front of people, and I deny you in front of the face of my Father. If I deny myself to myself, then the constant state of denial will be reflected in every aspect of myself. Every aspect of denial will be in front of me. Every doubt will be reflected in front of me of my own internal reflection of my own doubt of myself. I would not be able to sit here and celebrate and big up my brother Kevin Seymour because that motherfucker is doing his thing. I would not be able to celebrate the people that are in my life that I have either set up meetings, we have conversations on a regular basis. I wouldn't be able to be on that rhythm with them to have that conversation of celebrating them, celebrating the shit that they're doing because they're on the frequency with me. So why in my mad ass fucking mind would I go back to some human shit? Why would I? Because I haven't healed. Say because you haven't healed. Accept your aspect of healing. Everything that comes up into your life anyway, based on that thought process. From your mother, you didn't been taking care of your mother since you were 6. Nigga, that means that was your daughter in the past life cycle. The love that you got for your mother, the only woman for you in your life, that because she was your wife in your last life cycle. The hatred you got towards your father for whatever he did, that means at a point in time in your life cycle, he was an ex of some sort. He was an enemy. He's always been an enemy of some sort. But now he's coming closer to you so you can actually see what your closest fucking enemy is, the aspect of your own self. That's what it is. That's what you're seeing in front of you. You have 2 choices from that point in time. Either you're going to continue feeding it or you're going to let the shit fucking starve. How do you let the shit starve? By stepping away from it and actually forgiving your damn self. Stop accepting these crises of others as points for you to say, see, this is why I'm here. This is my purpose. Your purpose is not to be fucking sustaining this shit. Your purpose is not to sustain the blanketed the blanketed ignorance in your fucking life. That's not your point. For some people, that is their purpose, that is their point in their fucking life, then that's what they're supposed to be doing in this life cycle. Okay. That's what they're supposed to do. But if you're doing it and there's not a sense of fulfillment while you're doing it, you are only self-sabotaging yourself. You got to be able to look at yourself in the mirror under them HD fucking lights and be like, yo, this is not me. I have to remove the aspects that are not me. What is connecting me to this aspect? I need to truly come to a sense of understanding of my true self. And that's going to require that level of separation. It's going to require you separating from the things that you have put into the conduits that are within your life that are going to cause you a great state of crisis. That's going to be the true implementation of your evolution and your elevation. We're not in the space and mindset based on change, because change is an inevitable factor. Change is an inevitable fixated factor. So you can change. You can go from not having a beard to having a whole beard. Congratulations, you changed. But what steps did you take in truly putting a beard on your face? Other than saying, well, yeah, man, we gotta wear beards because the beard stand for this, and you can give me the whole mathematics behind a fucking beard. That's nice, that's fine, that's dandy. But what does your beard mean to you? Well, man, no. What does your beard mean to you? Yeah, we grow our locks. That's our locks. It's our power. And da-da-da-da. What do your locks mean to you? Because you can use that fundamental formula. But if you've not done the fucking work, guess what you're locking into your fucking formula? Guess what you locking into your fucking locks? The trauma you ain't dealt with, the power from the trauma. You just you just made another antenna to reinforce where the fuck you are at. To reinforce your identity. So how much healing have you fucking done? When you get stuck within the discipline is supposed to show you something as a pack, show you what you can do for yourself. I'm at a point where I just like plant-based food. I've disciplined my body to being plant-based. But that's not an aspect of me sitting there like, yo, man, I'm plant-based. So, since I'm plant-based, I'm more spiritual. They ain't got nothing to do with my fucking spirituality. That got everything to do with my discipline for myself. So I'm not going to so someone can't bring an argument to me about, the argument about meat can come to me and I can be like, well, meat creates mucus, mucus creates blockage, blockage creates erectile dysfunction. True. But if that motherfucker finds something that I do not know based on them eating that, maybe it's not the meat aspect that's on them, not me. That's not something for me to sit there and be like, you got to eat this, this, and this. We need more farms. We need to do this, this, and this. And then that's like that. Think about how dumb it sounds to say you need an economic plan. It goes right into the same thought process as a motherfucker saying that, nigga, you need to eat more vegetables. It sounds fundamentally good on paper. But if it cannot be explained or expressed as a discipline to actually say, well, like, nigga, well, for me, I go to the gym. I'm back in the gym fucking heavy. I go to the fucking gym. So every product and every supplement I take is more natural rhythm to my body. So everything that I do happens faster. So that would be my only add into an aspect to tell somebody something. I'm not going to use the other information of, but the cow and the cow was this, and I'm not gonna, nigga, I'm gonna give them my aspect from it, and then I'm gonna move the fuck on. It's not there for me to argue. You can from there make your decision based on the information that I gave you. Depending on anyway, how much it's only going to be, they're only going to catch the context if they can accept that amount of light. Because what I'm telling them, I can be speaking straight to them. But if they haven't done a certain aspect of healing for themselves, they're not going to get the content. They're going to be angry. They're going to be mad. They're going to want to buck against it. Don't care. I'm going to go on about my fucking business because it's working for me. I'm in tune with myself. I've done this level of healing for myself. I cannot sit here in this position. I could, but this conversation would be different. I could be in this same position based on eating the bologna sandwich instead of I could be eating the bologna sandwich instead of the salad, and I could be sitting in this same position because I'm meant to be in this position, but my conversation would be different. What I would speak on would be different. The things I adhere to would be different. That's the acceptance of you accepting what path you're going to take into. And are you going to accept everything that comes up on that path? Can you accept that amongst that amount of anger from you making a separation from other individuals in your life? Can you accept that amount? Can you accept that much anger in your life? Someone being that angry at you. Someone doubting you. Someone questioning everything that you did. Somebody bringing up every aspect of your fucking past. Could you deal with that in a fucking setting? Could you just deal with somebody hitting you with a barrage of everything that you fucking said? And everything that you fucking done? Because that's the judgment aspect. That's going to initiate your quickening period. What you become after your quickening period is based on what the fuck you brought into that space. What you've accepted, what you forgave, what you become humble upon, what you have understanding within. This is where your channel is going to come from. This is where the downloads are going to come from. This is how you're going to know how to judge these things and weigh these things out outside of the aspect of emotion because it made you feel good. There's shit that I've heard fucking channels, that shit did not make me feel good at point in time, but it made me better. It made me ultimately better because I was like, damn, nigga, I needed to hear that shit. This goes into the aspects of when you're connecting to your traumas. When you start connecting to these aspects of the traumas that happen in your life. Just simply by you going through it. Simply by you going through it sets the tone of what you do next. Five years, 5, 10, 15, 20. So I'll say 15. For 15 years, for myself, it was always in a 5-year cycle. It was always in a 5-year cycle. I could achieve anything that I wanted to, but towards the end of every one of those cycles, I'd be like, nigga, this shit is this it? Because every one of my cycles always ended with the same shit. I was either going out or I was doing I called myself based on my identity exploring life, but I was literally making everything in my space fit within that space. I think about the aspect of working inside of a restaurant. Everything that I had was based upon that point. Nothing was based upon me truly. So when we take this thought process and the crises that you live through, your life becomes most motherfuckers' lives based on not dealing with the traumas is an entire crisis. And you're finding yourself losing yourself in these moments, and then you're further away from your true self. So if you take somebody that's in the aspect of I'm woke and I'm this, and that sounds nice, fine and dandy on the fucking surface. Cool, you sound good. You can make the hand gestures. You can say Grand Rising and all these other fucking words. That's cool. But then you finish off in fucking English. You say beloved at the end of every other sentence. That sounds nice. That's fine. That's dandy. But what are you truly doing for your fucking life? Cool. You got a fucking bumper. You got a fucking star on the back of your car, or a fucking fez on the back of your car. What is it really fucking doing? If in your direct life, everything around you is not an aspect of your growth, everything around you is going to tell you exactly what the fuck you are. It's the representation of what the fuck you are. So if I'm sitting in my space, if I'm sitting here and if I'm surrounded by individuals that all have powerful fucking minds, then it means I'm in a space where I'm feeling more powerful. If I'm in a space where motherfuckers and I'm not talking about the issues that have not been dealt with. I'm talking about motherfuckers that have created this sense of denial in their life. I cannot sit around individuals that have a sense of denial in their life. I can't be around individuals or that human aspect of my traditions and morals in their life. I can't be around individuals on that nature. I remember at that point in time, I was like, nigga, I can never. The main thing that stops a lot of us is the thought processes of our traditions. So we're fundamentally locked to a tradition. But your fundamental locking into a tradition is not based on a tradition. It's based on the lack of transparency. So in your mind, you have a lack of transparency. So I can have a whole fucking conversation. And I'm outside of these. You grow out. You have to grow outside of that shit that you fucking get stuck in. Because you stuck on tradition. You stuck on a traditional standpoint. So now you got things that come into your life that are going to affect your traditional standpoint. There's a reason that every nigga that you get with end up not being shit based upon this. He ain't got no money. He ain't got no car. He ain't got this. He ain't got that. What would attract you in the first time? Before you knew about all of these things, you still stayed. What did you tolerate? What were you tolerating while you were within that space? You were tolerating all of these things based on the energy. You haven't learned how to charge yourself. You haven't learned how to keep yourself charged. So you need the constant attention of these negative or positive neurons to keep you charged. So when we look at this space around us, this is all the calamity that you're seeing, the chaos that you're seeing. To the motherfuckers that are in that level, that 5D shit, we on that 5D realm, we in that higher frequency. Our space, our mindset, we love the shit. You're starting to see in real time motherfuckers that hate the shit. Okay, they talking about the same thing they talked about the last time. They feel good because they can say that, oh shit, see, I told you, it's the rituals they running. Nigga, this shit don't work. This shit only work when you pay attention to it. If I'm not doing what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing, then of course what they doing is gonna work. Because I'm putting all of my thought process into that shit working. See, they're trying to kid us. They're trying to neck us down so they can put that vaccine into our systems. They're trying to knock us down so they can make us wear masks. This all about control, bro. This is all about control. Okay. It's always been about control. But what we talking about, that's based on kinetic pulses of energy. The kinetic force. We talk about potential energy. In this occult mindset, we talk about potential. So everything can become potential energy. But the only way it can become the most potent potential energy for myself is if I understand the aspects that are within it. So the only way that I can understand my true potential is going through all of the aspects that are within me that are based upon things that I have not healed from. I have not tapped into. When I meet something and I meet that challenge is 10 times, that challenge is easy as fuck to me. It feels good to me to be able to do the things that I can do. It feels good to be able to sit in a position and do the things that I do, that it further humbles you. It puts you in that position. It puts you in that ability. It keeps you in that clause that you're doing what the fuck you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to you're becoming the villain. So anything that is humanity is something that you now are against. But it's based upon the understanding. It's not based upon, I cannot do that, becoming pious. I learned how to use that potential. I know how to use that energy to my benefit, to the fullest and highest extent of myself. I ain't sitting there like, I'm going to do it this way. Nah, I don't care anymore. I truly have no care for the human shit. I have a compassion for, I have the understanding, growing in that understanding, realize that I don't know everything. I'm open to the aspect of knowing more. That's why the shit comes up. But it comes up differently when you come to a certain level. Once you have initiated your healing process, that custom process is meant for you. But everything, you being the essence of everything, this is how you're going to gather all of your information anyway. Because you're in the space for it to come to you in this space. Based on where you're at, is how you're going to get the information. There's shit that I've read 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago that I read today, that I read in the last couple of weeks, that has a whole new fucking meaning because I'm not searching for something to make my shit work. I know my shit. I'm not searching for shit to make my shit work. My shit's in alignment. I know my shit's in alignment because I'm in a space to where I can see if any of my peoples, anybody in my soul tribe is doing something that is on that level, that new shit. I'm like, nigga, hell yeah, it's working. I can celebrate that shit. I'm in alignment with the energy. I'm in alignment. I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. But that first level of that is going to be when you start seeing all of these things happening out here and you fighting that urge. You fighting the urge to sustain your identity. Because what happens a lot of times when people come into their consciousness, you're fighting that urge to keep your identity. So you want to become truer and truer to what is the byproduct of where you're at. You only becoming truer and truer to the byproduct of where you're at right there at that point in time. So when you come to a point, I've come to a point where it's like, nigga, I can't be this because it wouldn't make sense to do that. I'm coming to that. You come to that realization in your mind. You're unapologetic based on being healed, not based on trauma. One second. Okay, we're back. Most people are healed. Most people they'll carry that unapologetic flag, unapologetically black. We honor it. Then you start, then it gets crazy because then motherfuckers will actually start diminishing aspects of themselves. We're not our ancestors. We honor our ancestors. I ain't my grandparents. I'll do this and this and this and this. So basically you denounce everything that they did in order for your ass to be the fuck where you at. to sustain your identity, or where the fuck you at now? Really think about this aspect of crisis. It's not meant to true understanding, true balance of yourself. It becomes obsolete to call somebody out on their shit and say that they're ignorant and they're dumb and they're stupid and all these things to prove your point. I remember at that point in time, I remember looking at those lost, our people are lost, our people are ignorant, our people are stupid. And I remember in my mind, I'm literally looking around. I'm not realizing to myself that I'm creating these aspects of people, black people being ignorant, black people being lost. I'm creating that shit as I'm taking that shit in. It's one thing to acknowledge it, but it's another thing in order to understand it. We must first acknowledge this aspect outside of ourselves to understand that if I'm still seeing it, that means there's something inside of me that I have not yet learned. That's your learning process. Every time you get mad, upset, or triggered, think about the words that are being used as trigger words. Yeah, it's all mental. Once you catch it in your mind, you're like, wait, you know what? I can't keep doing this no more. And you start making that tone like, you know what? I can't keep doing this no more. I really gotta change my life. First, you gotta realize the change is inevitable. So you're not changing your life, you're evolving your life. This is where a lot of motherfuckers get stuck in on that intellectual shit and be like, yeah, I really need to change my life. The change is a fixed, inevitable factor. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen anyway. You're going to change regardless. Now you're going to change and keep repeating it, because I can literally say I'm changed and walk outside and walk around my fucking complex, go in my fucking closet and change my shirt and be like, I changed. Simplicity. But from what you inevitably are going to change into, from there, either you're going to repeat or you're going to evolve. Some people are not going to evolve. That weight is too heavy. That Jupiter is too heavy. Some people are not going to evolve. That Mars quadrant is that square with their Mars and their shit is too fucking heavy. They're not ready to become the conjunction to the old oppositions of themselves. They're not ready to do that transfer. They're not ready to transfer yet. They used to waves coming to them. It's been coming to them. And you start seeing that in your fucking life every day. You start seeing this in your life more and more. The more and more you're evolving, the more and more you're actually starting to shift. You start looking at others, and then it's almost like godly pity. Because you're looking at them like, damn, I remember when I was like that. I remember when I did shit just like that. I remember why I did shit like that. And if they're doing it, and then you creating your balances, if they're going through some shit that was similar to the shit that I went through, I know it's going to take them a little bit of time to come up out of it. That's compassion. When I can look somebody in the face and know that they've been through some shit, whether I'm doing a consultation or I'm doing a session, and I can see that they've been through some shit, because the spirit starts showing me their auric field, and I start looking at their auric field, and I notice that the conversation we're having is starting to show it's brightening up their field. But I am also able I'm also able to see the aspects of the pieces that are within their field that need to be removed so that shit can actually grow and heal, I know that I'm in the right space. You can't do that based on trauma because you're going to be looking at it based on, that's what I'm talking about, the spirit makes you incoherent to the language of the day. Messy, messy, messy. I don't know where the fuck that Christmas special just came from. But when you're looking at your space of you acquiring, trying to become something based upon your identity, then of course you accept the definition. You accept the terms of that definition, even if you don't accept that definition itself. Just in accepting or acceptance or tolerance, it's truly just tolerance. You tolerate motherfuckers based on the identity. That's why you can sit there and look at, I remember the two aspects of a learning process for myself. And it was a true learning process. I remember the first time this is when I lived in Tennessee. Back in like 2000 and just getting out of the shit that I got in when I was up in New York. And I remember being in Tennessee, and I remember there was this white girl. It was a white girl. And the stuff that I know now would not change that aspect of me being in that relationship with that white girl. Reason being is, based on the amount of information that I know now and I have for myself, that bitch was part of the program. She was part of the program. Everything in my life, you come to a point to where you have the true healing aspect is you have no regrets for anything that happened in your life. If you're holding on to the regret, it's the burden on your heart. That's what your identity is going to cling to. That's what your identity, your ego is going to use. That is what your identity is going to keep you trapped into this space. I have no regrets for no aspect of my life. I have zero regrets. I can recite those laws of Mayat because I understand that that was an aspect of my lower self. The shedding. That's the shedding process. There's no crisis intervention needed in my life. I've had all my crisis interventions. I've had my crisis interventions. The spirits came when I was fucking with them shits in the beginning, them motherfuckers were exposing shit to me, and I was like, nigga, I'm not ready. But I have to accept the higher level because this is that big boy shit for me. This ain't no shit that I'm setting that true boundary that you can't say what's needed. You'll come to this, you cannot say what is needed for somebody to deal with you because you're not dealing with definitions, you're dealing with energy. Discipline and chaos are turn-ons. Discipline and chaos are turn-ons. Healing is a turn-on. Shifting yourself into the higher aspects of yourself, that's your turn-on. That's what you need in your life. You need more healed and healing individuals in your life than the motherfuckers that are not doing anything. These are things that can show you that the actors that are playing the role in your life based on your crisis, based on your traumas, that's what they're acting upon. Your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, your cousins, whatever it may be, they're acting and reciting based off the script of your trauma. That's all they're doing, is acting off of the script of your trauma. Whatever pain you've been through, whatever you're going through, that's what they live in. The longer that you stay within that space, the more you keep trying to bring all your energy down into this low vibrational shit. That's what this space is. That's what the prison does. Think about it. That's what a prison is. A prison takes you in there for this false sense of the prison planet leaves you locked into it based upon this aspect of I'm reforming my identity to be accepted in this society. So I'm gonna bite my tongue. I'm not gonna say the things that I need to be fucking saying. I'm not gonna do the things that I need to be fucking doing. I'm gonna accept the distraction. I'm gonna say that I'm doing something on the intellectual level. This is that quickening period for a lot of motherfuckers. Some people have been here before and they're realizing that they've been here before. Others, this is their first time coming into it, and others know they got a point and a purpose to fucking do the shit that they need to do. To bring that light into that space based on their original purpose. I know that I'm here to do that shit on the original aspect of purpose. Accepting your godhood in the aspect of androgynous. Accepting when you're taking yourself back and forth in this space and you're trying to make a case or an argument for what the fuck you're doing to others that don't have the capacity of even the slightest amount of knowing to it, it kind of defeats your purpose. That's why you feel defeat. That's why you feel weak. This is why you start feeling that shit, because you keep trying to do the same thing in the same space, and that energy ain't meant for that. You can go to your house, you can light every candle. You can sit there and have 19 altars in your fucking house. You can have 19 altars in your fucking house. Light all them shits up, do all of your rituals. But if you keep going back to the same old shit, ooh, I love that burn. If you keep going back and doing the same damn shit, what are you really doing? Anybody's going to get tired after that shit. Just like if right now I went over to McDonald's. Like right now, if I went to fucking McDonald's, for example, and I went and got me a double quarter pounder with cheese, and I started eating it, my body would naturally automatically become stuffy. My nose would stop up. I would slow down. All of these aspects would happen if I ate the fucking sandwich. I wouldn't die, but my body would slow down. My body would tell me I shouldn't be there. My body would be like, yeah, nigga, you shouldn't have ate that. You got to drink this much water and do this, this, and this now. All right, cool. Take that same thought process and apply it to your works of what you're doing now. Take that same thought process. If you're not in your space, you're not in your right mind, you keep doing the same stupid shit over and over and over again. Because you're trying to create this tolerating factor for yourself to stay within the space that you're in. To keep doing the same bullshit that you keep doing. And that's just not working anymore. You're starting to see that in the reflections of the rituals that they're trying to perform. The rituals aren't working anymore. There's too many even if 3 motherfucking people tap in and say, nigga, all right, cool. Everybody burn some reverse candles and just reverse their energy back to them. I lit 3 reversible candles. I talked about them earlier. I'm talking about them now. I lit 3 reverse candles across from me. On the altar I got across from me. Stated, yo, bring all my shit back to me. Anything that's supposed to harm, that's gonna harm me. Let me get the energy from it and send that shit back. Send it back to the center. Did all that shit. How did I know it worked? The shit that's meant to be in my life is in my life right now, and the shit that ain't meant to be there is falling out right now. I'm accepting the fallouts. I'm accepting the come-tos. I'm accepting all of these aspects coming into my life, into my space. I'm fully accepting of it. I'm not saying, nah, I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want this to happen. Everything's happening the way it's supposed to fucking happen. That's how I'm tapped into my fucking magic. That's how I'm tapped into my fucking works. Because I know my shit's doing what the fuck it's supposed to be doing. I'm not putting myself into this human thought or the human narrative of, if I do this, this, and this, that's movie shit. That shit you ain't gotta do anymore. For somebody to, it just becomes an asinine motion to come to somebody that does the spiritual practices aspects and be like, can you make me a love potion? No. Can you make me break my baby father and his wife up potion? No. What kind of shit do you do? I do shit to unlock yourself. That's what I do. I don't do anything below that. And that is an aspect for us to really have to understand, is that you're setting your boundaries based upon, you know what you are. You know your value. You know your worth. You set your tone based upon your value and your worth. Not upon the trauma, but based upon you being healed. You healing yourself. You doing that shadow work. You doing the shit that you need to do to make yourself better. Not make yourself look good. Not make yourself feel better. Not make yourself want to go skip outside like a Summer's fucking Eve commercial. You doing the shit that makes you feel better. You're going to become ugly to a lot of fucking people. I've become ugly to a lot of fucking people. But in that same instance, want to be around me just based upon the fucking level of my fucking energy. They don't understand that they don't understand the composition of that body of light because they haven't gotten to that level yet. That's not my problem. That is the level of acceptance. That is a level of compassion and unconditional love. I only reflect for myself and accept what comes back to me based on that space. If it comes back to me and it don't resonate, it doesn't resonate. There's no urge. All my urges are disciplined. I can have a whole conversation and no urge arises. Yeah, in my mind, I may create a scenario in my mind of doing some fucking sex magic or whatever it may be. But my urge the human animal urge to act on that level has been suppressed. So when I can have that conversation, that one-on-one, it doesn't matter their feelings, their thoughts, their actions, because I'm open to the space. I'm not looking at it from one side or the other, trying to get something back in return. My initial statement, when I always say to people, like, nigga, I just want you to be fucking great. I set the parameters within the space before I even get in the space. So there's no worry, there's no stress. They're going to feel what they're going to feel. They're going to think what they're going to think. They're going to move exactly how they're going to move. If you don't bite, somebody else is. That is the nature of the aspect. This is the nature of the things that are in your fucking life. This is the nature of your fucking growth. There's going to be motherfuckers that are going to bite at the aspect of what you're saying. They're going to tempt you. They're going to do all of that shit. But when you're going for what you're truly needing for your internal healing, for your internal growth, none of that shit fucking matters. It's a lot of cutting that needs to be done in our lives. There's a lot of cutting away to get to that space. I love being in this space. I love being able to have multiple tier conversations and truly laugh and have fun, and it's not based on color or based on any of these aspects. Like, you can see that there is a difference, and the difference is not based upon the identity, it's based upon what's internal. This is that study of the neurons, when I can study the aspects of neurology, I can study NLP, I can study the aspects of the body, and you come into this space of the mind where you're truly free. You're not trying to find something outside of yourself to make it, oh nigga, this means being free. This means being this. I have to be this to do this. That shit melts the fuck away. 1 second. Look in your life right now, for that example. This water toxin detox shit is crazy. Look in your life and look at what you are actually and factually doing. Are you doing it based upon toleration? You're just tolerating it because it just seems that you have to do it. I got to say this to this and I got to do this to this, because that's how a lot of people live their fucking lives. A lot of people live their lives based on fucking toleration. Living your life in the crisis form of toleration is always going to lead you back to the same shit. You always going to be looking for an out. A lot of people are looking for outs. You can have everything that you need in your space, but because you haven't tapped into the aspect of something that's inside of you, you're always going to be looking for an out, either directly or indirectly, consciously or unconsciously. Well, that'd be the same shit. Indirectly would be your unconscious. Indirectly would be wait, run it back. Indirectly, your identity, your ego. Directly, reprogramming the subconscious. So a lot of people will directly program their mind to say, okay, I've accepted this, but I'm not going to accept this part. I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do that. And then you find yourself falling back down into a fucking hole. There's a hole right there. I talked about it in last week's podcast. There's a hole. What are you throwing into that hole? There's a void. There's the unknown. What are you putting into the unknown? The unknown aspects of you is what you're programming every time that you walk forward. Are you going to eat the sandwich? This goes down to the aspect of, I think about Christmas. There's no need for me to sit here and put a fucking paragraph on my fucking Facebook page what I've seen motherfuckers do, and say that I don't celebrate no white man's holidays and don't wish me this and don't do this and don't do that and don't do this and don't give me that and don't say none of this shit. The fuck's the point? What's the fuck's the point? Why are you putting animosity into something that, okay, cool. It doesn't matter. You created a crisis out of nothing. So you're using your power, but you're using it for low vibrational shit. So you spend all your time investing into this conversation. You spend all this time investing into these environments that are not suitable for your new self, for your higher aspects, for your truer self. The longer that you keep doing this shit, the more and more case that you gonna come back down here with fucking baby brain. There's motherfuckers coming back here with baby brain for motherfucking sure. But that's not for you to sit there, you come back here with baby brain then because you, why? Those oppositions in your natal chart, those are the spaces that you're going to become in order to unlock and go past them. Those are aspects that are supposed to be done based on you becoming the conjunction. The conjunctions within your chart, those are the aspects that you got to become the opposition to. The oppositions to your old self. That's the key to unlocking your ciphers within your astrology, within your zodiacs. Most people still will sit there and be like, well, I'm this and this and this. Nigga, you all them shits. You're the 13th. You're the 13th zodiac. Now what's next? Nah, man, because, most... Take this thought into your mind. If I can read my natal chart, for example, and everything's written in my natal chart, not in a direct sense, but it's like, nigga, it summarizes the shit that I've been through. And then I can sit here and say in the same breath that it's okay, it's easy for them to perpetuate and create an entire state of traumas and crisis because they got the whole playbook. If I'm paying attention to them using this playbook, how can I pay attention to my own? That's the key to the distraction. That's the key to defeating the distraction. Why am I paying attention to this playbook when I have my own? My playbook is going to give me the way out. Their playbook is going to keep me in golds to be within. But both of these playbooks go into the same play. These two halves of the same fucking whole. Everything down here has been separated. They show you division, so you stay in the divided mind. You stay within both. You stay within this hemisphere, that hemisphere of your brain. So I ain't creating what I need to be creating, and I'm not learning what I need to learn. If my mind is not right, my mind being all and everything being mental, then of course everything around me is going to be in that constant state of conflict. Everything's going to be in crisis. I'm going to respond to everything as a crisis. I'm going to respond to all this shit. Oh shit, it's a fucking crisis, nigga. They killing all of it. They killed Breonna Taylor. That could have been this person, because that's how those people are in your life. Deep down inside yourself, deep down in that pit, that void, the only reason that it affects you and it can be programmed into you is because it's a part of you. In the honesty of it, like when all of these recent passings and transitions and people getting killed and murdered and shit, it was just another Monday through Wednesday. It was just another Sunday through Saturday for me. I look at it, be like, damn, it was something that hit me. It didn't hit me on the level of, oh my God. It hit me on like, okay, cool. Let me go grab this. Let me go do this. And I went back to what I was doing. That's you coming into yourself. A lot of people are going to come to this space, but they're not going to go to that next level. Don't be, it's that choice is up to you. It's going to get ugly as fuck because it has to. It's supposed to become ugly as fuck. The reason that it becomes ugly as fuck is because just like if I'm going this way, if I'm going up in my path and the things that are locked into my mind are based upon traumas. So if I use that aspect of like, if I want to go into it, like if I meditate and I see clowns and shit that I was scared of, what do those clowns represent? What are the scary things in my mind represent? They represent doors that I'm not ready for. Until I'm able to assess what that shit is, I can't go through that door. So now that I've assessed what goes through that door, I'm at that certain level of stage. So in return, on the way back down, has to be all of the traumas or all of the traumas that I've now championed to get to that level. So we're gonna use that example. So if I got this in front of me this is a marker on a door. Until I understand every aspect of this and what it means, from the time coagulating as it goes down, the owl is the aspect of wisdom going down into that prism. So I have to have the wisdom for me to actually stand on top of this, me to sit on top of this. I have to master my wisdom. I have to master the aspects of my time, my fluid, my blood, release it from my aspects of my humanity. And I have to understand that this requirement is a requirement of my skill for me to be able to wear this shroud, to be able to go into that darkness. So now that I've seen this on that aspect, this isn't scary to me anymore. So every aspect that I've tried this to a certain aspect of pertinent trauma in my life, I now have the wisdom over my traumas in all these aspects. So when I go back to that space, or I'm about to fall back down, I see the other end of the space is something that's unfamiliar to me based on my higher self. I understand that it's simply power. If I go back down there, I'm gonna have to go through, when I come back up, I have to understand this to go back through it. This is transparency. This would be the example of transparency for myself that I can use from both ends of my polarity. So I can go through this door freely. I can go back through the door. Think about the devil walking to and fro on the earth, making another challenge, challenging God for a soul in humanity. That becomes your key. That becomes your access point. The things that you look at based on some of the shit that I've seen, I forgot and remembered again over and over and over again because it no longer serves me a purpose in another space. You have to become these things. You have to become that monster. You got to become that primordial self before you can even start doing any real work. And you're going to be shown when you got to do real fucking work. This is that key within that. It's more than just being able to meditate and recite some fucking murders. It's more than that. It's what those things are unlocking within yourself that you're understanding. That's the key to your true understanding. That's the key to your enlightenment. Trading in that false sense of control for the intimacy with your power. Trading in that aspect of control for the true intimacy with your own power? Are you afraid to let go of control? What are you running away from? Are you running away from the aspects of being broke? Or are you running away from the emotional traumas that are connected to that space where you were broken? That becomes your new balance. This becomes your weight. A lot of us have went through that process. I went through the process of, I had the perfect, on paper, if I wrote down that I had two parents, I had my brothers and sisters, we all lived in the same fucking house, and I wrote down the story of those aspects, taking out all of the traumas. On paper, that shit would sound good as fuck. Like, that nigga had a good life. But the reality of it is, it's not on that fucking paper. The reality for myself was realizing that I had the good life based upon my identity. But it wasn't until I came into the aspects of my father, knowing who my father, meeting my father, that was technically the single dad, the single parent. But I learned more through that space than I learned ever through that space. I learned through both spaces equally. Each space had something to teach me. That's why it was there. There's nothing to denounce. Mastering all of it is your key. Mastering all of these aspects is your key. It's going to be your major key. It's going to be what's going to take you to the next level. It's going to be what's going to champion you. Understanding that you're taking it out of it. It's like there's some people right now that are in this space that are still say something of niggas is demons, but so that means they're just an unlearned aspect of myself. Okay, that's all that when I think about the word demon, I go to Damien, I go to the etymology, magic, intelligence, which intelligence at that point in time was basically the intellectual. It's something that I haven't learned from. So if I keep seeing it, that means there's something still in me that I haven't dealt with. So now I create this crisis externally saying I need something, but I have not exposed myself to that fire to go through that aspect to learn something. This becomes that key. This becomes that necessary point for yourself to take yourself to that next level, to challenge yourself. You need the challenge. Avoiding it is only going to make it harder because you'll miss your nexus point. You'll miss that point to actually get to where you need to get to. That was one of the biggest factors for myself. Was accepting that others can't go where I'm going. And it's one of the hardest things it was one of the hardest things for me because I was locked within that toleration. Maybe if I tolerated it enough or I'm there long enough. And then I remember going back to the day of my pops. We had it was like, I think we got our first computer in the house. And the computer was in the living room. And I remember every single day, my pops, if anybody was on the computer, it was mainly, I always thought it was just me. It was mainly just me. I'd be on the computer and my pops would be like standing, hovering over me, just standing there. That was my handicap. That was a reflection of a handicap for myself. I could not do what I needed to do or what I felt was what I needed to do based on my identity because I had something keeping my identity in check. I no longer have something keeping my identity in check. I keep my identity in check. Therefore, I don't need the handicap anymore. A lot of us get stuck within needing the handicap mindset to keep our identity in check from not going too far. You have to go further. You have to go further into the void. You got to go further into that fucking darkness, because that's where you're going to learn all of the aspects of yourself. So sitting there on that fence doesn't even exist anymore. Sitting there thinking that you're at a certain level, the level doesn't exist anymore. That line in the sand, you drew it. Step over it. That level that you created for yourself, step into it. That boundary, that barrier that you created, step through it. You create these aspects in your life. You set that tone. Sitting there in that space, not understanding that I set that up. Now am I ready to deal with it? Then no. Do I really want to tolerate this bullshit? Do I really want to keep setting my tone, tolerating the same thing over and over and over again? It's the perfect time for creation because there's chaos. The more chaos, the more you can create, because the chaos is the potential energy. The more chaos, you now can create based on potential. But if you don't value or understand your own potential of yourself of understanding yourself, then you can't tap into the potential energy that's outside of you. You're always going to go look back for something that makes you feel safe. That's your crisis actor. That's what gives you the aspect of crisis. Now you have another crisis to go look at. See, that's why we can't rise, because they keep trying to kill us. That's not why they're killing you. They're killing you because they're sacrificing you. You said you were a god. They only understand from the intellectual standpoint. Oh, when you make a sacrifice to a god, they accept your offering. They accepting it. How are you accepting the offering? That's what you need to tell yourself. How are you accepting the offering? Every time that I see one of them transition, I celebrate it. I light a candle. I take the energy. Not even 3-4 days later, I'm getting a fucking download of information, because I know that's a necessary aspect. So where's your excuse? Where is your conflict once you start accepting the shit that you need to sacrifice? Just as you saying that you're a god in that aspect, saying that you're a god, saying that you're a goddess, saying that you're in the higher levels of yourself, you're going to have to start doing the sacrifices in your own fucking life. Those are those fucking sacrifices. That friend, that family member, whatever it may be, those are your first sacrifices. Those become some of your first sacrifices, actually. Yes, transmute that shit all day. Whatever it is, you have to learn how to transmute, but it's not based upon that trauma. A lot of us like to transmute through the trauma. Then, okay, cool. My mother's boyfriend touched me when I was little, and now you've been transmuting all of your pain through that aspect your entire life. So every developmental stage, we got into that last week. You take that last aspect, like there's people, right? There's grown men that are in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s and their 60s that are trapped in that 11-year-old little boy's life, little boy mind. There are women that are in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s and their 60s that are stuck within that 12-year-old girl's mind. They're stuck within that space. So they're in their soul or their true self is in a constant state of crisis, trying to maintain this identity that doesn't serve a purpose for them anymore. Much gratitude. You have to step out of that space. Instead of you making this argumentative point, it becomes obsolete to this argument of black men have been hurt, and acknowledging it. That's the good part. Black women have been hurt, acknowledging it. That's the good part. But after acknowledging it so long, and then living in that state of crisis within that space of making that your reason for being what you are. I can't trust black men. I can't. You're always going to look for information that's going to filter that point. So you're always going to look at you're always going to be looking for that shit. So of course you're going to go all the way back into slave time, prisoners of war. You're going to go back into that space, and the only information that's going to light up to you is being separated from families and all of these aspects. Meanwhile, the occultist goes in there like, well, they use this based on the aspect of conjuring. So how can I take the information, the light of this is what they're saying, how can I take that information and bring it to this next level without the aspects of using trauma? I can take that and understand my traumas, and what comes up is based on what I need to face based on my traumas. And then I apply it again. This is how you change that whole fucking genetic narrative. That way kids are not waking up. If you truly want to help, that example is yourself first. If you truly want to do something, you would do this shit. There's no more time for that aspect of excuses. You want to do something, you're going to have to go through that aspect of work. That karmic, that's what we were getting into. The aspect of that karmic wave, that karmic debt, that Sally Mae is knocking on your door saying, nigga, are you ready to pay? Sally Mae is seeing 50 Cent around the set. I don't know if 50 Cent is the dude for Sally Mae anymore. Are you going to pay, or are you going to stay where the fuck you at? That's why that shit's getting heavy. Just like right now, they got motherfuckers coming out the woodworks talking about Trump is fucking coronavirus and all of this shit. Give them niggas something else to fucking encode their information into. Okay, they gonna say it's a ritual. Give it to them. And then you're gonna give them back your energy because you're worried about something that doesn't even fucking exist. Meanwhile, I'm over here looking at stock reports and saying, oh, that shit dropped, this dropped, this dropped, this dropped, this dropped. Let me learn how to put my bid in and always make my shit work. Let me learn how to put my bid into all of this shit and make my shit work regardless. When it's going down, I'm winning. When it's going up, I'm winning. As above, so below. Apply. You want to use the fucking word. You want to use the fucking so you can sound like something, but you're not actually applying it. Or you're not even understanding how you're applying through it. Transmute through everything that you fucking see. Use it for what the fuck is there for. This shit's all in your fucking... If the shit's all in my fucking mind and my mind ain't right, then the shit ain't gonna look right. That's your growth. It's not easier said than done. It just takes you wanting to be able to fucking do it. That's the only weight that you carry. That's the only aspect that you carry within yourself that is stopping you from going to the next level. I watched 19 Keys. I follow him on Instagram. I was watching 19 Keys, a video with him. That shit hit on so many fucking chords for me. The message that he put out with that. I listened to Derek Grace mad fucking heavy. Cause that nigga's actually doing some shit. My aspect of space of time for myself is the people that I'm listening to are actually applying some shit and doing things. I'm not listening to the ones that are giving a good speech or a good run around with some words that aren't actually applying anything. And once your spirit, once you truly humble to yourself, this is the type of shit that you start seeing. Especially when we start taking this thought process of you can have your whole friends list on your fucking Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Mad motherfuckers on your page right now. How many of them do you actually have a conversation with on a regular basis? If you have a conversation. Check your contact list out. In your contacts, how many of them contacts in your list are investment ideas, investment deals? How many people in your list, if you said right now, yeah, it's like you start literally saying like, do I really need this person here? Is this really something that I need? And when you start going down that line, you like, I got a bunch of fucking filters in my fucking phone. Because all of that is synonymous to what's in your life, what's filtering your shit through your fucking life. Anyway. So think about it. Put this visual into your mind. Take your phone contact list. And each one of these people in your, do they magnify your power? Yes, exactly. So take that thought process in your mind. Like, you got these lines, you got these filters in front of you. Everything that's in front of you, is it magnifying your power or is it refracting your shit back to you? Because a lot of us are in this space with our mind right now. A lot of us are in this space where you can say some powerful shit. You can speak some powerful shit anyway into existence. But when you're looking at your contact list in your life, how many of them are mirrors that are bouncing your shit back to you? And how many of them motherfuckers are actually magnifying your energy to go out further? So it can bring shit back to you from your ultimate balance of yourself. This is the type of shit where you are taking this shit and you're simplifying it down to its most potent power, the most potent point. I can literally take everything from that I've heard, that I learned from our historians when they put that shit in the historical order, down into when Phil Valentine came in through with that smooth fucking shit, all the way into when Bobby Hemmett came through, when Panic came through, when everybody come through and dropping that shit. I took all of that and simplified it into the craft that I'm now producing. Because that is my parenting energy. That energy came through and was magnified by these points, and it came into this form. That's the energy and the power that you're tapping into. That goes into synonymous whenever you're studying the different aspects of spirits and all of these things. All of these things are the aspects of magnifying, or bringing it to that point to make it more powerful. How are you using it? So now I can sit in this point and I can do consultation. I can do the consultations. I can do the sessions. I can do the guided meditations. I can do the classes. I'm always creating a new stream and body of light because of where I'm getting my information from. I'm only magnifying it. I'm noticing when I do that magnification based on the balance of myself, that I'm coming into more opportune points in my life. As opposed to before, I would get information, I microwave it. And this is just going to aspect when I was working in restaurants and shit, I was literally microwaving my information within that space and applying it to something else. So at the end of a 5-year stint, whatever job I was at the end, I felt like I didn't do shit. I was like, nigga, I don't think I did anything. What am I really doing? I could go back to any of the restaurants, and this is that access. This is your access point. I can go back to any of the jobs that I've left. today. Like right now, I could get the information right now. Like, no, not, yeah, today, tonight. I know for sure I could call my boss from my last fucking job and go back and work there, but I don't fit there anymore. I know right now I can go call my mother. I can go call my mother, sisters, brothers, whatever, and say, yo, let's have a cookout. I'm a cook. It ain't gonna fit no more. I'm fucking vegan. Because I've stopped going out and started going within for myself. I've stopped this aspect of going out and trying to make people meet me at my level, which I was only tolerating their shit. And now I'm in my space. I'm like, nigga, if it's not this, if it's not going to advance what's happening, I don't need it. And watch your contact list change. Watch your friends list change. Funniest thing about my friends list on Facebook. I was doing it today. It was funny. It just made me want to look at it. My friends list on Facebook is at 687. No, 686. I got my nice little, and I got one of my mini angel book books. It's the closest one to me. I was like, nigga, why every time I scroll through my Facebook page, I'm looking and it's weird. I'm like, why I keep looking at that number? My Facebook page number right now is at 687 people. So I was like, something just made me open up the book. Your angels are encouraging you, or for me, like even when I read, it's different. So it's like my angels of light are encouraging me to step into a teacher leadership position in your current situation. The messages and lessons you can share with others are also ones that you need to hear. It's there right there in your face. But if I'm looking at both sides, trying to make some shit fit into a space that I'm trying to make it fit a certain fundamental, I would bypass the information that's coming up. I would bypass that body of light. I wouldn't, because I'm looking for something to sustain where I'm at and not create the pathway of potential to where I'm going. This is that major fucking key. This is that key that once you accept that level, wherever nexus point you go through to get there, because there's people, I love looking at lectures. I love looking at individuals that have bypassed the parameters of where they're at, because it's a reflection of my own mind. So if I look at, let me use an example. What lecture was I looking at the other day, while I was sitting here working? I was looking at a Dr. Eileen Bay lecture a couple of weeks back. Listening to him speak, I could hear in the tone and just translate to the information, because I can understand that he went past a certain point. So when I look into the realm of right now, I understand that's outside of the parameters, because this shit that he said, studied, and can link to other aspects of understanding in a deeper way, as opposed to me being stuck within one thing. I can't do that. It never sat right with me. That goes all the way back to my roots and my core of sitting in there in a fucking church and that bullshit. And I'm looking over there like, don't nobody see this nigga? Don't nobody see this shadow in the corner over there? Don't nobody see that? All y'all motherfuckers talking about, hold your hands up for Jesus. And I'm sitting over here looking at this shadow thing talking to me the entire fucking service. And I think that was like one of my first. And that was one of my first black church services. I was like, don't nobody see that? So at my core, understanding the shit that I went through at that point in time, these transit points always led me back to what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing. The only difference is I'm seeing it faster because I'm more open and within that space. And that is that key when you're stepping out of this intellectual. Remember, the intellectual floor, the intellect's the floor. Genius becomes your house, your lab. And that's what taps you into your true intelligence. Shit would fuck my head up. You just sat there, you have to start actually applying that and you start looking at things. My childhood was weird anyway, because I remember I knew I was always different, or I had like a different region for myself, because I remember I remember looking at my baby picture. I was staring at my baby picture hard. And this was back in like 2008. I looked at my baby picture, and my ex, not long ago ex, she looked at me and she was like, you was really fucking stuck on your baby picture. I mean, you cute and whatever. She was from DC. You cute and whatever, but damn, you ain't gotta look at your picture that hard. But like, I remember having a baby picture. I remember having my baby picture in my wallet, and I remember my exact face. I was in my baby picture, like flexing, like, and now I look back, I'm like, nigga, I knew what the fuck I was supposed to be doing. But these are those elements of your triggers within your life that you have to start. We have to start seeing it in that narrative, removing the aspect of the emotion. This is why it's not becoming emotionless, it's that you're using your emotions less. You're in a space where you're actually studying. You're in that space to study. When you fight against the aspects that are going to give you that shit that you need to study and take yourself to the next fucking level, that's what's going to shut you the fuck down. That's always going to be that key point that's going to shut you down from tapping into your shit. From you actually accepting your level of where you're at. This takes a level of humility. This takes that level of healing, even in that space. To challenge yourself to actually grow. Remember, that change aspect is inevitable. The change is inevitable. The change is an inevitable fixed factor. You're always going to change. Something's always going to change. From that change, that inevitable fixed point, you're either going to put in the algorithm for repeating or the algorithm for evolution, for yourself to elevate and evolve. What comes out of that, that's your next nexus point. Whatever points come out of that, those are your next nexus points. Yeah. It's going to happen regardless. So you're saying, so for me to hear somebody say, I'm fighting for change, you're not fighting for anything. This is how you start. This is how you start these are these aspects that disassociate you with humanity, the humanity within yourself. I was on the way to, because it was funny, I wasn't gonna light any candles. I wasn't even gonna use no candles, but I was like, last night, full moon energy vibing, and I was out. I was tired as hell when I woke up because I didn't go to sleep. I was body was gone. We were off. This was offline, but it was live. It was live. It was live. I was almost say it was lit. But I'm in that space. I'm like, nigga, I ain't getting no fucking can. I'm not gonna do it this week. Until the image of this program that I interfaced and this candle that's sitting over here going fucking crazy. right now. It's just going fucking crazy. But I was like, nigga, I don't need this aspect, but it's an aspect that helps me channel my shit. This helps me become that's the disciplining aspect. You're not doing these things based on the aspect of I have to repeatedly do this fundamental ritual in order to get something. This helps me be able to transmute that much energy into that space or keep my energy within my space. That's what you're doing when you create the external aspects. Like, any motherfucker look at me when I got nails. These are the times to get trimmed off. I got my pinkies back. These are fucking growing back because I knew understanding was like, these are everything outside of me is an extreme of myself in make balance in my energy. I enhance it by invoking my energy into it. So whether I have it or not, just it being already programmed in my mind, I'm supposed to forget why I do certain shit anyway. That's how I instilled it, is programmed into my mind. When you get stuck on that tolerating shit, you want to tolerate people, you want to tolerate you got to constantly remind yourself why you tolerate it. When you truly love that shit, when you truly love what you're doing, you ain't got to, there's no way you can explain it, but in order for them to do it, you can explain it, but in order for them to be able to fully ingest that, they got to go through that process. And that's where we at right now. That's where we at right now. You want to process, motherfuckers either going to ingest and they're going to take that fucking, they're going to either take the spoonful or they not. Stop fighting. Stop fighting the resistance to maintain an identity that's no longer you. Because regardless, if I went to my mother's house right now, like, she's still gonna remember me as the 10-year-old, 11-year-old, the 10 through 16-year-old that she raised. She's still gonna remember that. That's not going to change. She still remember me from them moments. But for her to understand me now, she gotta sit down and really process the pattern. If she's not willing to do that, that's not on you. How it ends is how it begins. You came in based on your ending. The first thing you have to realize is you came in on an ending. This is your beginning. You're going to your beginning because you came in on your ending. First aspect of understanding. That's going to help you go to that next level and take that distance. That's what's going to challenge you to become the best. In understanding that we are two parts of the universe, having a conversation, you become open to the aspect of growth. And that's what I provide. That's one of my purposes. And this is that point in period of time, like around the 250 mark. We do the question and answer period. We do that question and answer. You drop a question, and we build from there. While I do the rest of the spills for all the other stuff. God Hour podcast. This week's episode, we got into the aspects of the law of correspondence, the curious case of correspondence. The God Hour podcast is available on multiple platforms, including the Spotify. I don't know, I'm sounding like an old man right now. Spotify, iTunes, Breaker, iHeartRadio is available. It also streams on the YouTube channel. 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time when I drop a new episode. If you it resonates and it moved you, don't be afraid to show that love and support. The link is in the comments, way up at the top. Links in the comments. Lucifer Somni. It's the Cash App link. If you're interested in services from natal chart analysis, Vedic, tropical, those aspects, natal chart analysis, readings, consultations on where you at in your life and going further on that, life coaching, the spiritual coaching, the counseling and the therapy services, all that's available. Godico Alchemist, Godico Alchemist LLC.com is the website for that, my website for that. Or you can drop it in the comments. You gave me 910-777-7708. All of that's in the description of this video, in this lecture. Share, subscribe, let the knowledge do what it's supposed to do. Allow yourself the space you need to actually grow. Allow yourself to become the greatness and to become that ultimate example. That's what I wanted to say. I was riding down the street today that way. And on the corners, like they're in the corner, they had like their little, I don't know. I don't even like it didn't even compute to me until the nigga started yelling. Like this old man was yelling and shit. He was saying, we ain't gonna rest until something. By the time he said that, I was already like around the corner somewhere. So it didn't even strike me to stop or anything. But yeah. Yeah. But yeah, readings. With the consultation, we start with a shadow reading. The consultation, we started off with I do a shadow reading first. So we read the aspects of what you need to accept, what you need to forgive, what you need to release, where you're going to learn, where your healing and recovery is going to come from, and of course where you're going to get your help at. And then we build from there. Like questions, any questions that you have to ask, we build from there, and then we go forward into that. The consultation right now with the shadow reading is 65. Natal chart analysis is 45. Very deep, very in-depth. I go very in-depth into your chart. If you want an overall aspect, we can do that. Whatever questions you want me to, psychic markers, all these markers within your chart, go from that. I also do the Vedic or topical. We can mix it up to compare the aspects within there. Yeah. Spiritual baths, spiritual teas, spiritual products. Send me an email at setcolonides for business aspects. You want to do a build on a podcast episode, hit me up setcolonides@gmail.com. Sponsor, if you have a product or a service, hit me up on there. Hit me up and we can build from there, because all I'm thinking about is growth. All we think about is growing over here. Papa Lucy 666 at gmail.com. That's the aspect when I go into your personal aspects. Most of the emails get sent out through there based on your natal chart analysis or whatever works we do. We build on that platform from there. Yeah, that's about it. You have to understand that everything outside of you is a reflection of you. How you deal with that reflection ultimately is what's going to either engage your wokeness and you'll stay where you're at, or of repeating, so you're just awake, walking around in the awakeness, or you're going to walk into the aspects of, am I really doing what I'm supposed to be fucking doing? And that's where a lot of people are at right now. Are they at where they need to be doing? They going where they're supposed to be going? Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. I just want you to be fucking great. I want you to tap in and do the work. It's lit. This is the best shit for you. Because until you do the work, you really can't do anything else. Everything else is going to become a distraction to keep you from getting to the best you. Y'all can be anywhere in the world right now, but y'all here on a Friday night. Yeah, it's really lit over there. Just being here shows where you need to be at. I accepted that a long time ago. I am doing readings. No, I'm not. I'm having a decision if I'm gonna do readings tonight. If you want a reading, hit me up at the number 910-777-7708. You can drop it in the email, or if you follow me on Facebook, where I call Onijas, they won't let me change my name. I don't care. Hit me in my inbox on Rocco Onijas on Facebook, Papa_Lucy666 on Instagram. You want a reading, and we can just go from there. I got this screensaver on my TV that's like a galaxy, so I get stuck in it sometimes. But share, like, subscribe. Let the information do what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to invoke thought. If it's not invoking thought, it's not really new knowledge. It's gonna be a whole. What comes from it is good. What comes from it is what's supposed to come from it. It's supposed to take it to that next level. It's supposed to challenge. So I'm open to it. I'm ready for it. I actually I sent him an email today because I was in the middle of working, then going to this. So yeah, it's all about healing and growth. As long as he's open, as long as you open to grow, I can guarantee that any consultation or any dealing with me is going to be the best dealing for you. Always. That's my guarantee. Based on you wanting to grow, based on you wanting to break the pattern, understand the pattern to break the pattern, understand the much gratitude. That aspect that changes in your mind, that's what I guarantee. It's going to work based on you wanting to put in the work. Other than that, it's not going to work. That's how we got to look at it. Share, subscribe, like, drop it down. Yeah. Let's be fucking awesome. I am doing readings tonight. So if you want a reading, if you are interested in a reading, hit me up. All the links is there. Hit me up. I'm doing readings tonight. Vibing with this full moon energy. Shit hit me in my head. The full moon energy hit me so fucking hard that I took a nap today. I don't take naps. That's the super key. Is like getting that shit. Yeah, that shit. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he gonna need it. That aspect. That's the missing component of what he needs. But yeah, that whole. Whew, I took a nap today, and I usually don't take naps during the day, but today I had to take a nap. Like I was like, I'm gonna go lay down. It was out. Came back. I was like, nigga, okay, cool. It's time to do my next shit. Yeah. And that's where this energy level, for the ones that are feeling it, is going to be, that's the quickening period to the next phase. So if people are coming out of that phase, and that's why I know it was so important for me to like do the stuff that I'm doing, because, and it makes me further humble, because like I'm in that lane of I'm listening to I go back and listen to what I'm saying, because sometimes this, for example, this entire lecture, there's points that I've said that I'm gonna go back and listen to later on. Now I'll go back and listen to my lecture like tomorrow or whatever, like days from now, I'll be like, nigga, did I really just say that? Can't believe I said that, because that's being in that level. It's removing myself from the aspect of we have to remove ourselves from the aspect of I think and this, therefore I do this, or you're going into your aspects of knowing. Like when I read this morning, when I read that angel number, when I read my angel number, I was like, damn, that's right in line with what I got to do Friday. But yeah, readings are available. I think it's in the, I don't want to touch none because this shit might freeze up. But yeah, Cash App links in the top of the comments in this. It's in the description. So if you are interested in a reading, I am available for readings. We're going to knock out some readings tonight. Vibe with this full moon energy. Oh, shit. Okay. You keep seeing 513. Ooh, that's a good number. I'm mad at how my finger went straight to 513. 513, your efforts to expand and to experience a life of abundance and preparing the road ahead. Stay focused on how you can grow and let the light lead. That is the ancient number for 513. I'm going to say that one more time. That sounded good. Your efforts to expand and to experience a life of abundance are preparing the road ahead. Stay focused on how you can grow and let the light lead. I tell you, we all in alignment. No problem. Much gratitude. There's no problem. We here. This is how we this is how we do this thing. What's it about to do? But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here because phone's already lighting up for readings. I love you. You love us. Much gratitude. Peace.